So Rep. Agbaje is going to move 4361, be laid over for possible inclusion in the 2026 tax bill. Welcome to the committee. I understand you have an author's amendment, DE2. Do you want to explain it, or do you want us to just move it and then you'll just explain the bill overall?
Yeah, if we can move the D2 and then I can explain it as a whole.
Great. Chair Agbaje has moved the DE2 amendment. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Motion prevails. The DE2 is amended and the bill's in the form the author would like. Representative Agbaje, to your bill as amended.
Thank you so much. Co-chairs and committee members, thank you for the opportunity of presenting House File 4361 as amended. So this bill represents the City of Minneapolis' interest in updating its downtown tax boundary to include the North Loop neighborhood. It also presents an opportunity for the city to recoup its excess tax from the U.S. Bank Stadium while still maintaining its responsibility to pay the direct costs to the stadium. The city first developed the downtown tax in 1986 to fund varied development, construction, and maintenance of assets like the convention center and others. Considering the changes since 1986 to Minneapolis, the North Loop neighborhood now has many of the same amenities and attractions as downtown and should be part of the current-day downtown entertainment district. In addition to funding and preserving the city's downtown assets, the downtown tax also helps pay down the bonds for the U.S. Bank Stadium. Currently, the city pays into 4 obligations related to the stadium. Number 1, we repay the state for the city's portion of the defeased construction bonds, which I believe happened in 2023. And the other area that we pay into, we pay also for annual operating costs of the stadium. We also pay for annual capital costs to the stadium. And then the 4th area that we pay into, it captures growth from inflation and increased sales across Minneapolis, and a portion of that growth is retained for the benefit of the MSFA. So originally, those funds, when they were going into that tranche, were unrestricted, but in 2023, it was narrowed to be restricted to capital expenses. This bill does not change the city's commitment to pay those first 3 obligations, which actually is upwards of over $500 million over the next 20 years. The bill only eliminates the 4th obligation to the stadium, which was providing the excess revenue from the city directly to the MSFA. With this change, the city will be recouping approximately $62 million until about 2046. And they can use that to address the downtown assets it owns, unlike the stadium, which is owned by the state. And some will say that this 4th obligation, because it's now restricted to capital expenses, has a more limited use, but it does seem duplicative since we already do pay annual capital costs that the city is paying to the stadium. Finally, this bill does contain rider language for the PGA to secure tournaments in Chaska, and it will use $7 million from the Minnesota Forward Fund to the City of Chaska to attract PGA tournaments. And with that, I have a testifier here who can add additional details if she would like, or we can go to questions.
Excellent. Welcome to the committee. Ms. Gildem, good to see you. Please introduce yourself as you get started.
Likewise, Chair Gomez, Chair David, and members of the committee, thanks for having me. My name is Angie Skildum. I am the Director of the Development Finance Team in the Finance Department at the City of Minneapolis. And I am very pleased to testify in support of House File 4361 as amended, which would add the North Loop neighborhood to the City of Minneapolis's existing downtown taxing boundary. As Representative Agbaje just noted, this boundary was first established in 1986 when the state was authorizing a collection of a series of special taxes for the City of Minneapolis to fund development, construction, maintenance, improvement, and promotion first of the convention center and later for related downtown facilities. 2 of the special taxes that are part of the city's authorized local option sales taxes, a 3% liquor tax and a 3% restaurant tax, apply only in the downtown taxing area, which is defined in state statute and is currently outdated. We believe the expansion of the taxing boundary to include the North Loop will bring it more in line with the scope of downtown activity as that activity exists today, and ensure that there is fairness between businesses that are located throughout downtown. For example, currently the downtown liquor tax applies if you purchase a beer while you're enjoying a show at the Fine Line, but does not apply if you're doing the same at the Fillmore. These venues are just a few blocks apart, and they're both generally considered to be downtown. The expansion of this boundary will also help the city to address what has been a 20% decline in our downtown property values and help keep the burden of that shift from shifting onto homeowners. Revenues from the downtown restaurant and liquor taxes, along with the city's citywide sales tax and citywide lodging tax, are retained by the state to help cover the city's obligations to US Bank Stadium. As Representative Agbaje mentioned, this bill, as amended, would eliminate the city's fourth obligation to the city, on top of the city's original construction and ongoing capital and operating obligations, which are not changing. And again, I would just like to note that the state is the owner of US Bank Stadium, not the city of Minneapolis. So I'll conclude by saying we appreciate the representative for bringing this proposal forward to bring the downtown taxing boundary into alignment with downtown as it is known today.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much. Is there anyone else present who wishes to testify before we switch to member discussion? Not seeing any. Representative Johnson?
Thank you, Chair Gomez. Thank you for the presentation. Question I have is, have you seen, I guess first of all I'm going to ask is, what's the difference in the tax rate from Minneapolis and the North Loop?
Ms. Skildum? Or maybe we could, so you want to know, like, if you're within the special downtown taxing district, what's the difference in the
Yes.
tax rate that you'd pay on, I mean, I guess, are you asking
Well, I
specifically?
guess-
Because it's just on certain things, so it's on like food and bev and lodging?
So, exactly, I mean, you're
Yeah.
looking to bring it in the North Loop. So what would the sales tax increase to if, once it's brought in? 3%? Okay.
Ms. Skildum, yeah.
So then my question.
Representative Johnson?
Sorry,
It's okay.
Chair. Have you seen that there was any migration from Minneapolis out the North Loop as a result of what the special taxation? And then would there be any concern of people then moving out of North Loop as a result of that?
Representative Agbaje?
Yes, thank you, Chair Gomez. Thank you, Representative Johnson. So if you, because I have lived in the North Loop and also lived in Minneapolis, so people kind of see the whole area as kind of one. So I don't think there's a necessary, if the purpose of your question is, are people sort of like not going to Minneapolis but going into the North Loop to avoid that tax? That's not really happening because all of those amenities are sort of all seen as in the same neighborhood. So I think people will go, as Ms. Gildum said, they'll go to a show on one side of downtown if whoever playing there is someone they want to see, and then go to a restaurant in North Loop. But they don't really think about it as like, oh, I'm trying to save on a tax. It's more just like what is nearby to where they want to be. So what the city of Minneapolis is trying to do is, because everyone treats essentially the whole area now as downtown and as the entertainment district, then the city of Minneapolis should be recouping the benefits from that extended area as people treat it.
Representative Johnson?
Thank you, Chair. That's all.
Thank you. I know I can say I've been to a show at the Fillmore and a show at the Fine Line, and I did not notice the difference between the beer tax, although maybe now I will. So, yeah, I think we sort of, I don't know how responsive people are to that, but I think it's a good question for us to discuss. Yes, Representative Hewitt.
Thank you, and I just want to, because it's in our notes here about this, and I want to bring a point here that's really important, especially now in the space we're in with government money being used for things that we didn't intend it for. The Minnesota Sports Facility Authority, I've been on this board 2 out of the 4 terms I've been in the House. I've met 0. This is a serious thing. As legislators, we're supposed to sit on these boards. The boards are supposed to call the meetings, and they don't. This is the way we ended up digging into our EMS structure about making sure we do the oversight we have to do. And I am sick and tired of these fake boards out there that we apparently are part, and as the representative said, that this is a state facility that we should be looking at. We don't, I mean, we're going to invest more money in it, whatever. We have these big obligations to both the Twins and to the Vikings right now that we're signed on the bottom line for. This is exactly where we should be involved in stuff like this, to see what other creative ways we can pay our obligations. So I'm sorry, I'm on a rant about this. Thank you, Chair.
You know I love it when you go on a rant, Representative Hewitt, especially about this topic, so, okay. I didn't realize that you were on the MSFA Oversight Board. That's right, so maybe it doesn't matter that you're on there, and that's why I didn't know, but that's curious to me. We'll do some follow-up on that, it sounds like. Because, there are continued, I will just say, there are continued requests in front of this legislature for, public dollars to go to that facility, and so I think, I'm really glad that you brought that up, because to the extent that we're being asked to, put more public money into it, and the mechanisms for legislative oversight are broken, we need to fix them. So thank you for that. Is there any other discussion before we go to Chair Davids? All right, not seeing any. Chair Davids.
Thank you so much, Chair Gomez. And the bill itself, I think makes some sense, but the amendment, just so members know, it's not agreed to. The amendment here is not agreed to. Well, what's not agreed to? Well, first of all, I'm going to take the amendment and take it to my office. I'm going to frame it because I think it's suitable for framing from lines 3.2 to 3.28, that finally we recognize the importance of the PGA, the championship events, and so that's a good thing. I'm very excited about that. It is such a good thing for the state, and the money that will come in is just going to be tremendous, going to be amazing. So I'm very excited about that, and I will support that, but not with this funding mechanism. So we've got to think about how we fund that, but I'm all behind the PGA because the state makes so much money on it. It's just a good business decision. I remember trying to raid the fund that we're trying to raid here to build veterans' homes. And you would have thought that I had taken somebody's firstborn. It was just, I got beat down so bad. You don't touch this. There's no agreement, and, we're just eliminating the fourth item. Well, the fourth item is for maintenance for the stadium. And that's a commitment the city made, that's a commitment the state has, and we need to keep that in there. But like I said, you will, next time you come visit me in my office for our weekly meetings, you'll see this framed on my wall. It's just, I'm so excited about it. So with that being said, again, members, there's no agreement on the amendment. I did vote for the amendment because I could not vote against lines 3.2 to 3.28. I just wouldn't be able to sleep at night, and I'm worried about my sleep. So members, there's work to do on this one. I like where it's headed, but it won't be funded this way.
All right. With that, Representative Agbaje, please wrap us up.
Thank you for hearing the bill. I know that this has been a priority for the city of Minneapolis for quite some time, and I think part of it is trying to figure out a way to get it across the finish line. We have presented it multiple years in a row, and we are hoping that this year can be the year that we move forward with expanding our downtown tax district. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Representative Agbaje. With that, Rep. Agbaje will move that House File 4361 as amended be laid over for possible inclusion in the 2026 tax bill, and it is laid over.